Walt Whitman was born into a working-class family in Long Island on May 31st, 1819. He was named after his father, a carpenter and farmer. They moved to Brooklyn in 1823, where he would spend most of his early and teen years. In 1830, he quit school around the age of 11. He worked as an office boy for a lawyer. He was self-taught for the most part by libraries, museums, and lectures he attended. He learned to print as an apprentice for a newspaper publisher. After that, most of his work and jobs revolved around being in newspaper companies as a printer, editor, or compositor. He lived alone for most of his life, maybe affected by the fact he was independent at a very young age. At the age of 17, there would be a big change in his life, for there was big fires in New York, which wiped out most of the newspaper publishers. He was forced to move back to Long Island, where he would become a teacher and spend miserable years doing it, for he did not like the job or the people he worked with. The Civil War began in 1860, and while the war went on, Walt visited hospitals to talk, care, and comfort wounded soldiers, and to write down their stories of what they went through during war. While looking for his brother in the war, he thought he was dead or injured. He came across a dreadful sight that haunted him. He saw amputated limbs of soldiers. He said he wanted to be the missing parts to those who remained alive, by running errands, writing for them, or just giving them care to make them feel complete. He made a poem of a scene he remembered while in army camps. A sight in the camp in a daybreak gray and dim. As from my tent I emerge, so early sleepless. As I walk in the cool fresh air, the path near by the hospital tent, 3 forms I see on stretchers lying, brought out there untended lying. Over each the blanket spread, ample brownish woolen blanket, gray and heavy blanket, folding covering all. Then to a third, a face nor child nor old, very calm as the beautiful yellow white ivory. Young man, I think I know you. I think this face is the face of Christ himself, dead and divine and brother of all, and here again he lies. He continued to serve in makeshift hospitals and deeply cared for the soldiers that were wounded. It was a very intimate relationship he had with them. In 1863, he moved to Washington, D.C., a random act without planning, like much things in his life. He also made a poem about his sudden moving. We must not stop here. However sweet these laid-up stores, however convenient this dwelling, we cannot remain here. However sheltered this port, and however calm these waters, we must not anchor here. However welcome the hospitality that surrounds us, we are permitted to receive it but a little while. I believe Whitman's writing was affected by the things he lived through and made up of his experiences. He wrote many things about his nation and was very patriotic. His poems were simple, not complex and clear to understand, a type of writing that is very detailed and full of thought, yet beautifully simple. Many of his poems inspired musicians to create music to make interpretations of what they believed his poems meant. There are many ways Walt contributed to America. He taught school children and gave them the education to contribute to the growing nation, hoping that they made a difference with what they had learned. He served in the army, not by fighting but by providing care. He was in the Union side of the Civil War, and his works inspired many to fight for what they wanted. He spent his time in hospitals taking care of the wounded and giving them care and love they needed. His literature, journalism, and published works are recognized worldwide.